What's that? Do the mics work? Are we live or no? Did you check the mics? All right, good. Welcome to You Are Not Normal with TONYMONT. I got Mike and Cheyenne here in from Charlotte, North Carolina. What a great place North Carolina is. I'm so happy you guys live here. You own SkipMatrix, a great skip tracing company.
Yes.
Came into town. Mike's miserable right now because you guys did not plan the food regiment today.
So
No
angry.
snacks. Did you get jerky or
Giving
peanuts?
me wine in a fasted
Yes.
state.
There was a little liquor store next to his barber shop, and I went in there and just bought as many things as I could. They had incredible jerky.
Let me say this, for as prepared, and you guys are in town, we shot some testimonial videos for your great platform, SkipMatrix, for skip tracing data. You guys checked out the office. We're going to have dinner here in a minute. Kayla's on her way over to hold us over before dinner with some meat and cheeses, charcuterie board.
I can't wait.
But for as prepared and anal as you two are, like it took you guys 47 minutes to set up 2 cameras to shoot, I don't know, a total of 97 seconds of testimonial video.
This is why we don't eat.
But with as prepared and all that shit as you are, how did you forget to eat though?
We didn't forget to eat. We ate small.
Had a protein shake.
Okay.
We ate small because this is
Important
the thing.
things.
If we know we're going out to eat a big unhealthy dinner that is treating our bodies and our minds to something that's more of a treat rather than gains, we're gonna fast most of the day and save it all for our warrior meal later.
Okay.
No.
So it was part of the plan.
I would have had lunch. We didn't have time.
Liar.
But yeah, well, here's the thing though, because you guys were a little late, this was a very casual day. Like nothing was set in stone. Especially like I love how like Cheyenne calls and she's back and forth and and secondly, you thought you were supposed to be here last weekend.
We did.
Yes.
So you were calling me freaking out. It's Friday, blah blah blah, and I'm like, holy shit, yeah, it is Friday. You're right. And I'm like looking at my calendar and I was like, isn't it next week?
So to be fair, we were coming back from Maryland and we were on the drive. And I think for some reason, both of us simultaneously thought that week was the week that we were having to prepare to go to U. And we didn't even look at the calendar because I trusted him and I think he trusted me. And we just simultaneously made the mistake together.
I
And it was
trusted
definitely...
you told me that. So you told me it was that Friday.
I know for a fact when I told you, but it was not.
Well, I think
date.
it's if I'm from the outside looking in, like I think we do this a lot, and Gio can probably attest to this with my personality, where it's like you're like when you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner and you're growing a business, you're growing this platform you guys have, and you're growing the technology and your customer base and your clients. It's like you can have that thing dialed in. And then it's like you're almost focusing so much of your like attention on one thing that you have all these other ideas and shit going on, but it just kind of falls by the wayside. And you forget the weekends and you forget to eat and all that shit, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with us, like we try to be as structured as possible, but when we travel or when something comes up, our assistant calls with an emergency situation and it throws us off, or like his barber is late, we can act like we have everything together, but at the end of the day, they always say, like if you want to make God laugh, make plans. Exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
It's like I can make all the plans I want in the world, but there's always going to be something that gets in the way of that. But it's about adaptation and being able to pivot and kind of mold to your environment. Because if you're too rigid, it can kind of drive you crazy. And
Absolutely.
both of us, we hate that, but
It's reality.
Bob and
yeah.
weave.
So you guys have a skip tracing platform.
Yeah.
And like if I'm not a technology guy at all, not a software guy at all. I use a lot of it and I'm always impressed by it and I appreciate it, but it doesn't seem like a sexy thing to get into, Like sales is sexy, like all this, real estate and selling, doing these big flips and rehabs and stuff like that is is kind of, I'm driven to that kind of thing. But like, what got you into this business, and why did you gravitate towards the data part of it? Because it seems, and we talked about this earlier, where there's no real brand loyalty to like data and skip tracing in the wholesale industry, because it's all kind of generic and it's kind of blanketed. But you guys have created a brand and a platform that, like, you guys even compare it to like Apple, because it is like a white glove service. People are getting attached and loyal to this brand of skip tracing because it's very unique. It's very high quality. The customer service is great. Like the user experience is great. It's unlike any other platform out there. But like, what made you gravitate towards data?
Yeah, we started in wholesaling, and we realized it was a very underserved market when it came to the data, and we needed good quality data. And there wasn't a lot. This was back in, I think, 2017, 2018, and we just were banging our heads against the wall because we were spending all this money on skip tracing data and stuff. And back then this was like Wholesaling Inc. and like Brent Daniels, these guys, they were talking about cold calling and how you get the leads and the deals. And so we went with some of the, I won't mention the names, but we went with some of the popular skip tracing companies at the time, and just wrong number, disconnected number. It was just very underwhelming. And we didn't really have much to compare it to at the time. So we were just like, is this the standard? Is this what it is? And we weren't really getting a lot of traction. So eventually, I was talking with her, and I was like, I'm just going to pick up the phone. I'm going to start trying to figure this out. And I'm sure there's a better way. I'm sure there's a solution. Fast forward a couple of years, we realized, we knew exactly how to piece together reliable data, and we could actually start using that. And in the beginning, it was more so about having a solution where we could use that and get more traction in our wholesaling business. But then we just saw the opportunity. We realized, this is digital. I can scale this nationwide very easily. We just have the internet, right? And we can serve anybody digitally. And basically one thing led to another, and before you know it, SkipMatrix was born. And in the beginning, we were bootstrapping everything. I did all the web design myself, brand design, logo, all that stuff. And if you aren't familiar with SkipMatrix at this point, I could show you, 3 different logos. We've now evolved. There's several different versions. But we just grew 100% organically from all word of mouth because we actually had good quality data. So finally, we were helping people solve those problems.
That's the power of your brand, right? Is like it. I mean, I know you guys have a team now and things are growing, but it still seems kind of bootstrapped, and like you guys are so involved and still growing this business, right?
And that's something that we take really seriously, because we don't ever, even if we do scale to a point where we have like 1,000 employees, we never want the customer to feel as if they are an afterthought or just another one in the mill. Like we really want to make people feel heard, understood, and cared for. And because I would want to create a company that I would want to use, right? Like I'm not going to just create a business that is a money mill for my own personal gain. I want to create a product that I know other people would use, because if I used it myself, I would recommend it. So that's where skip tracing wasn't something I was personally using at the time myself, because I was learning from him. But when he was like, this is what's quality, this is what's not quality, this is where these are, this is where a flaw is, we need to try and fix this. And we just couldn't find it with the current providers that were out there. And so when he was like, you know what, I'm just going to fix it myself, I'm like, how do you even do that? Like, where do you even start? Because that's not really something you can Google, because if you could, everyone would be doing it, right? But he's so good at social engineering and research, and as you know, planning, preparing, becoming very perfectionist. And that's just become part of the SkipMatrix experience, is from A to Z, even if there's an obstacle or even if there is a bump in the road, because that happens.
Of course.
We're going to make sure that even that experience is taken care of flawlessly. Like if you have an issue, we're going to fix it, because we're educated, we're knowledgeable, we care, and the staff genuinely cares about how you end up in this situation. So it's not just another, customer.
Well, as prepared and I hate saying anal. What's another word for anal? Particular?
Yeah.
Whatever that word is.
Neurotic.
Neurotic, but that's still negative, right?
We're just insistent.
Like, how did the word
Can be.
and how did the word anal make
don't-
it
I
to
think
somebody
that's
Always
a
wondered
being
the
lot.
same thing.
particular? You guys ever try hiking with one boot on? That's what it's like to use any other skip tracing company in the industry. You need the right tools to build the right business, and that's what SkipMatrix can do for you. Click the link in the bio if you're interested in their services. Now let's get back to the interview.
That a lot.
That's weird, right? Anal. Somebody being
Tennis.
anal.
Yeah.
Anal. Yeah, it's weird. How many times can we say anal in 30 seconds?
Tony, this is inappropriate.
But like,
podcast is about.
but even just setting up the cameras and telling, like, I operate completely different than you guys. Like me and Gio will meet at the office, the studio. Well, especially with this podcast, like me and Gio sit down and we have literally zero to talk about. Like we haven't talked about a plan. I haven't written anything down. And he turns the cameras on and we'll talk for 2 hours sometimes.
But sometimes that's the best because
Yeah.
when you're too scripted, sometimes it can feel a little rigid.
For me,
and
it is.
cold
Like, that's
and
just not my
planned
personality.
And, inauthentic. And I think that's why I respect a lot of what you do because you can do it so well. Like I was talking to him on the way over here because we got in the car and we got separate. I got a moment with him and I was like, he did that so good. Like the testimonial, like that was incredible because we were going through the questions and he was like trying to make sure and engineer that the questions were good. So he'll question me and I'm like, well, I'm not a customer. So I don't know if I can really answer these questions the same way that Tony would, but I'm going to try. And he's like, don't answer it that way. I'm like, you know that I'm not a customer.
Yeah.
So but even in my head, I was like, I don't know. Like, let's just figure it out. And Tony will definitely be able to say something different because he has a different experience with the data than I do. But
And as long as you're like, I just like whenever I'm doing stuff like that or content, I try to be just very like introspective and honest and like just understand, just be myself and give a real answer. So it's pretty easy for me when I have that mindset going into stuff like that.
It allows you to speak from the heart and just
Because then you're not overthinking it. Like
exactly.
I can't I almost didn't want you telling me the questions because I'm like, I don't want to, because I get in my head. Because there was one question you asked and I gave an answer and then we were trying to go back and do it again for another take. And that's when I got all flustered because I'm like, well, now I'm thinking about what I just said. I like to go off the cuff.
Well, because then you have to backtrack, and now it's like rehearsed in a way.
It's hard for me. It's hard for me to do
Exactly.
that. But the point I was making was how you guys were with how organized and prepared you are with the questions and the cameras and the knowledge you had and the way you wanted to structure the testimonials and even showing me an example. And you guys were looking at agencies to help with this stuff. Like all that preparation and like obsession about making a perfect product, it transfers over to your guys' business and what you do in skip tracing. Like you guys work so hard to get a better product than anything that's out there. And it just made so much sense when I saw how you guys were operating today with everything else.
Well, yeah, and the reason we do it to that quality and that standard, we hold ourselves to a high standard, is because we want something that we are proud of course. That's just how I operate. I know she does too. I don't want to just put out crap. I don't want to put out something that is just like every other thing out there. And that's usually how people do it. It's usually just, who can I outsource this to on Fiverr? How can I make this quick buck here and there? Well, sure, that could be fine for some use cases, but everything that we do, we pour our heart and soul into it. Like, we're not really those types of people to just be like a million different kind of low quality, mediocre things going on. I want to pour everything into one thing and make it really great, because then I could be really proud of it. Also, it's going to solve a lot of problems a lot better than the competition.
I do think, like, for me anyways, and maybe you relate to this a little bit, because I mean, you guys are fit and work out and successful, and like even with business, like I always, like I have a little bit of an ego of being the best too. Like the ego definitely plays into all that stuff where it's like, if I'm going to, go on, if I'm going to do a half-mile Spartan race with Jerry Norton and pace, I'm going to beat these guys by 6 hours because I'm going to show that I'm the best. Or if I'm growing any business I've ever done, it's like, I just want to be the best at it. Same with coaching. It's like I go above and beyond because I want people to be like, Tony's the best at it. So there is some type of ego that comes with it too, which is a good thing.
What do they say? Like, it's not about you showing up first. It's about being best dressed. So we kind of feel the same way when it comes to SkipMatrix. Like, obviously, the data industry is not something we invented, but we took something, made it better and present better, and we treat people better. And that makes such a difference because people can tell, yes, it is data. Yes, it is not a very sexy business. But if you can take something that's not sexy and somehow make it sexy, people will notice and they will remember, and that is what makes a lasting impression. If you can do that with data or a boring industry, you can do it with anything, and that is, in my opinion, it's a superpower.
And this is the thing I've never understood with these kind of middle of the road type of data companies or whatever, any business really, is, especially with us, we understand that if we give our customers a crap product, data that isn't getting them results, then they're not going to stick with us.
No.
They're not going to stay with us. And ultimately, that's why their success is like our success. So of course, like we have, their best interests in mind. We want to give them the absolute best. Not only do I want to do that to be proud of what we offer, but I want to give them the best so that they keep coming back time and time again.
Yeah, here's my perspective on that too. It got me thinking when we were talking earlier. And I think it is that, so this is like a chicken and the egg thing. This is how my brain works. But I'll bring you into my psychosis since I had to deal with your guys' earlier. It's not psychosis, but so here's where my mind goes with that statement of all these other companies are just giving a shit product and they could lose retention, right? We know the wholesaling space and the wholesaling industry has like a huge fallout rate within 90 days of people coming into the industry. So it's like, are these, and we see it with coaching and platforms and skip tracing, a lot of stuff in the industry where there's not a lot of good value. And maybe they're doing that because the industry's teaching them, 90% of my clients are going to be out in 90 days anyway, and there's going to be fresh ones coming in. But the thought I had earlier with you guys, I think Cheyenne mentioned something that triggered my mind was, maybe it's a 90% fallout rate in wholesaling because people are using skip tracing and shit data.
Absolutely.
Imagine if that 90% shrunk down to 60% or 70% because they had, now there's a million factors. They don't have the right coaching, the right scripts, the right process. They're not good at sales. They just give up. But there's definitely a portion of that 90% fallout rate that is attributed to I'm not educated. Attributed to bad data.
Yeah,
right? It has to be.
It's one of the biggest problems.
What part of that conversation that what triggered that was I was telling you how when we are talking to people and they're kind of going into the third degree about questioning our data and our quality and stuff, I always try to reassure people and reaffirm the quality by telling them that if they are using, like if they're going to a construction site and that's their job, they're not going to show up with a rubber hammer. And if they show up with a rubber hammer, they may have been told by someone, this is the best hammer in the world, and they don't know any better. And they go and try to perform the job, and when all these other people are doing it with regular metal hammers,
stilettos,
they don't know any better, but they don't even see the difference. They're like, I'm failing. I'm the problem. But it's not. It's the tools that you're using. Yeah. And if you're not going to show up with a good tool, with the right tools and use them the right way and even know how to use them properly, that's where it's not even, it's their ability, it's just the tools that they're using. Yep. So data is 100% the lifeblood of any data or any real estate, platform or business or any type of anything, honestly, in the world. Data is everything.
Sure.
If it's not good quality, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of gurus out there with rubber hammers right now, teaching the wrong thing. And like we were talking about earlier, they have an affiliate with whatever data company and they're just pushing that on everybody. And I get questions all the time about certain software companies and their skip tracing. And it's like, well, it's shit. Yeah. What do you want me to say? And they're like, oh, well, my coach, this person told me that to use it. And I'm like, well, they make $50,000 a month off of the affiliate though. So they don't give a shit. Right. A lot of people don't give a shit if their students are and it comes back to the turnover again.
Yeah.
It's like they don't care if their students fall out after 90 days because they already grabbed their money. They got them on, whatever CRM they're using, whatever platform they're using, software, data, everything. And then all of a sudden they're gone in 90 days and they got a fresh
It
batch.
still doesn't make sense to me because it's like, how it sounds counterproductive because they could retain those and get the additional.
Well, they can't retain them.
Making sure they were succeeding.
And they can't retain them because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
They don't know how to coach properly. They don't know. They're teaching the wrong things. They themselves have not wholesaled a deal in a decade. So how the hell are they going to know how to wholesale a deal in 2024 when they haven't wholesaled a deal since 2014?
And that's another massive issue with the industry of data is a lot of these larger companies, even some of the biggest in this industry, they do not understand their own product. And that is one of the biggest problems because you can call their support, you can even talk to the owners. And if you start going into the actual nitty gritty of the data and the product, they don't know. They didn't do the research. They saw an opportunity and they took it. That's the difference.
This is the thing. Most of the owners of the skip tracing companies that we compete with, they don't even really understand the data. That's the wild thing.
Yeah.
Because all they're essentially doing is just reselling it. They go to they find an API from some other company, and they say, let me slap my label on it. Even the big ones, the big name ones, most of them. And the reason they have sales is because they have the gurus, they have the influencers that they're offering whatever they're offering. And, at the end of the day, this is the thing I've never really understood. It's going back to that previous point is why would these influencers, want to hedge their reputation on such mediocre product, that's not really going to lead to that much success and that many good results because ultimately that's going to affect how these people view them.
Yeah.
And
has it just been the real estate has just been too easy for too long or something? Like maybe we needed this dip that we've seen in the last year and a half or whatever, where it is like a lot of the gurus that were putting on 1,000 people of wholesaling events have fallen off the face of the earth. Their students are falling off in droves. They're panicking because it's the first time we had a dip in the real estate market in a really long time. So I think it does come to resistance and stuff like that, where these companies haven't had to get good at anything because it was so easy it was easy to wholesale. Real estate was easy. The market had been going up for a long time. Coaches could, charge whatever they wanted because literally if you get a property under contract at what it's worth, a hedge fund would have bought it for fucking 20 grand more than what it's worth. So it's like you could easily make money for so long. And I think everybody just got lazy, complacent. And now we're hitting this stride over at least the last year where we're seeing, kind of the creams rising to the top. Who are the best coaches? What are the best platforms? What's the best CRMs? What's the best data? So I think it's good.
I think also COVID had a lot to do with it. I think a lot of people either got laid off or they got themselves into kind of a bind financially and they wanted a way out and they found wholesaling or they found a coach or something in real estate and they felt maybe this was a good opportunity to take, which is fair. But I feel like a lot of influencers sell the dream, not the reality. And that is where we try to come in almost like myth busters or whistleblowers. When people get on the phone with us and they ask us questions about, is your data going to help me get deals? It's like, it's not that easy. Like, I mean, sure. Like if you are actually calling and good at your job and getting deals and know how to spot a deal, and are you hounding these people to the point where you're annoying them, or are you actually caring about their situation and helping them out of distress? It comes down to a lot, but sure.
Well, this is the other side of that. So like you said, it's very formulaic. The reason that it's worked for so long is because it's been fairly simple. Like you teach the blueprint, it's pretty much the same across the board. Not a lot of people, there's some in the industry, but not a lot of people are really thinking outside the box and teaching anything all that different, right, on their approach. And that's worked for a long time. And I think the data, to some degree, coming from any skip tracing company, you will get leads. You can get free skip tracing data, and you can get leads, because if you think about the nature of data, not everybody is going and changing their number very often and things like that. But especially in real estate, there's a reason, especially these real estate the typical prospect, usually financial irresponsibility, whatever, that's usually a good reason these people are going to either have their phone numbers turned off, or they might change their numbers more frequently just to prevent them from being harassed.
That's a good point. I never thought of
And
it.
so this is why it's so important to not go to that bottom of the barrel data where, yeah, sure, some people haven't changed their numbers, some people you're going to get good numbers and good data and whatever. But, the reason those databases are so cheap and the data is so cheap is because they're getting updated maybe once a year or whatever, or just they were bought in bulk at some point. It's not being maintained. And so it's important to have multiple data sources, not just one or whatever. And that's usually what
Yeah, and it gives you an unfair advantage over everybody else because most of everybody wants to go cheap. And it's like, all right, go cheap. I'm going to get the best skip tracing data out there. And now instead of shooting, instead of 100 people calling this seller this month, it's maybe only 2 or 3 people calling the seller this month. How many more deals are you going to get?
Right. And the other thing is, so not only might you have, if you invest in better data, you're going to have better, more accurate numbers for this subject, but we give relatives, we give associates, we give multiple ways of contact, because sometimes you might not get a hold of anybody, any of those numbers. And so the reason could be because they're deceased. And we give information on that as well. Not everybody gives that. Most, I think, average companies are given, maybe 5 phone numbers. Are they good quality? Are they accurate? They usually don't give relatives. They usually don't give all this extra data.
Yeah, I've never seen the relative data.
I know some that do that, but, even then, who's really even using that data?
Yeah.
So think about how you could approach these campaigns differently. Most people are just like, phone 1, phone 2, phone 3, let's dial it, let's hammer it. And then they're not really tracking it. They're not managing the data very well. And then what about all the ones right away? Right out the gate, I could look at our deceased flag in my entire list. Let's say 20,000 records. There's probably quite a few that are actually deceased. Why are you going to try to call those people?
Yeah.
You could try calling their phone 1 through 5. And
you're paying for literal dead data.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a whole separate campaign. So you could filter out all the deceased.
Yeah.
And then because we give you all these relatives, we give you relative 1 through 5. You know what I mean? That's new opportunities that no one else is really going after.
And imagine you're pulling like a tax delinquent list and you see that they're vacant, deceased, and had a bankruptcy. The family is now taking on that debt or the financial burden. And then if you're going with a skip tracing company, one, you're probably not going to know all the information about the additional motivators, right? But then on top of that, let's just say you magically do come across those motivators, but they don't give relatives. Who do you contact?
Yeah.
You're going to have to go in and do manual work, which if you have a VA, that costs more money, more time. And time is money, right? Yeah. So it's like, if you're going to do anything, do it right.
Do it right.
The data
get the good
needs
value.
To be
cheap
feature-rich.
is not good value. I've never bought anything cheap that was good value.
Yeah.
It's you get what you pay for in most cases, right? If not all,
of course.
Really. But it's like what we were talking about a little bit earlier is, with better data, like some of these things, like what is good value? Like in this case, we give over 480 columns of data, I think, or something like that. It's a lot of data.
There's probably more now because we added the relativity label to the relatives.
Yeah,
You'll see
it's
who
a lot of
who they
data.
are.
We just give you a wealth of information because we have it. And we don't need to charge you extra for this and that. Our goal is to give you the best weapon, basically, to take with your marketing campaign to get the best results. And that's the thing, is some of these people are like, 3 cents a record, 4 cents a record. They think it's good, but they're getting like 3 inaccurate phone numbers.
Of course.
That's their data.
That's not
Is
value.
that value? How much are you really comparing side by side? When you start to look at it that way, you look at our price is like 10 to 15 cents per record, depending on how many records. But when you start to look at that, you look at, I got potentially an extra 11 people I could contact.
Yeah.
And all this extra information. That's pretty valuable.
Yeah, it's like I'm an Uber driver, and having a car is how I make my money. Are you going to spend $3,000 on a car that doesn't run, or are you going to spend $10,000 on a car that runs?
Exactly. And that's the thing. We're not trying to put down anyone who feels comfortable buying that level of data.
No, we can put them
day,
down.
Yeah, because at the end of the day.
You guys ever try hiking with one boot on? That's what it's like to use any other skip tracing company in the industry. You need the right tools to build the right business, and that's what SkipMatrix can do for you. Click the link in the bio if you're interested in their services. Now let's get back to the interview. You're in a safe space, Cheyenne. Go ahead, put them down.
No, 'cause,
Tony's-
Name names. Go ahead.
No, because like at the end of the
We'll
day,
beep it.
everyone has their preference. Some people like a cheaper wine. Some people like the top shelf. You know, like it's fine. But we mean business. So our customers, we want people that also mean business.
Yeah.
Like we don't want people coming in just being like, do you have a discount? Do you have a promo? Like we don't give discounts to people who don't earn it, such as with volume. Because we do
Right.
give volume discounts.
Right.
But we're giving you that discount because we're grateful for the fact that you're giving us that volume.
Yeah.
And it's like there's a trade-off, right? But we're not going to just grant a discount because you're a friend or
Yeah.
because you're asking for one. We don't give free trials, nothing like that, because we hold ourselves to such a high standard. We're not going to dumb it down just so we can meet you,
Yeah.
you know? And we don't want that kind of business.
Yeah.
Well, I think like you guys just talking about how you got into the business too. I think a lot of people out there want to be entrepreneurs or want to own their own business or have all these grandiose ideas, but they don't know where to get started. And I think, I mean, I've done it in every business I've ever built, which is found something that wasn't being done correctly, something I
Find a
could do
problem.
better.
Solve it.
And I would like encourage anybody watching this, like if you struggle with like, hey, how do I do that? I don't know where to start. Like, what do you do? What do you know? And how can you make it better? That's your business. Like we're not inventors here.
Right.
We're not.
You don't have to be.
We don't have to be. We're not reinventing anything. We're not sitting at a fucking chalkboard trying to figure out, a better way to build a pogo stick. It's like
Right.
it's we're just doing what we do. Find a hole in it, like I did with dispositions and coaching that, and just wholesaling in general. You guys found with skip tracing, like you can do anything, and people just don't know where to start. But I love that story, how you guys got started, because you found a hole in the industry and you're like, we can fix this, and you fixed it.
Right.
It's great.
And we try to deliver that wow factor with everything we do.
He taught me that.
And yeah, learned it in school. It's stuck with me ever since.
Can't unlearn it.
Everybody else is doing the same thing, and it's not memorable, when you do the same thing as how are you differentiating yourself? And so we just saw so much opportunity, especially with the skip tracing in this industry. I mean, so many people need that and they have that problem, but no one was really solving that problem really well. And, maybe because they were lazy, maybe because they weren't resourceful enough, they didn't know how to do it. But honestly, it wasn't that hard. It really wasn't that hard. I don't know.
Well, don't tell them that. They're going to go try and do it themselves.
Well, no, finding the solution isn't that hard. It's trying to prove yourself in such a already dominated industry.
Yeah.
When, especially because we've done no marketing.
Right.
That's
I
the
know.
crazy part.
It's crazy.
Our entire success is owed to people like you who believe in our company and our product and the quality of it and telling another person. And that kind of spreading like wildfire.
How did we meet each other?
Instagram.
Yeah. Building a brand is so important.
Yes.
Right. And I think like that is something we talked about earlier, where like I'm blown away that you are not like the face of SkipMatrix like on social media. Like
Not yet.
both of you guys, but
Not yet.
you in particular, Cheyenne, because I just think you have like a presence and a way better personality than Mike. So I'm just kidding.
Fair.
But I just like see like interacting with you. This is the first time we've met in person. We've talked a lot, obviously, over probably I don't know how long we've known each other through social media.
It's been over a year.
Over a year, which is
Like
crazy.
almost a year and a half. I
feel like
know.
I've known you forever.
I know.
You
We're just
were
a
out in
hop, skip, and
San
a jump away.
Yeah, you were out in San Diego staying with a friend of mine that you didn't even know was a friend of
That was
mine. Like
so
we're
random.
so connected. But like just interacting with you today, I'm like, Cheyenne has no idea like the brand she could build on Instagram and be the face of this and speak at events and be a vendor at wholesaling events and real estate events. Like once you guys, and I know you want everything completely dialed in and perfect before you start doing that, but I kind of felt the same way about my disposition course or even creating content. And I remember Eric just said, just fucking do it today.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah,
started
and-
doing it. And then it forced me into just speeding up and getting everything put together. And then I was like, holy shit, I'm so glad I started doing this.
Yeah. So the goal right now, first of all, thank you. what you said was very sweet. But right now, what I'm really, really focused on is curating a really tight-knit group of leaders that can influence their audiences into understanding, like, one, what data is, what good data is, and who we are, right? So like yourself, I reached out to you because I liked your brand, I liked your style, I felt like you were real and raw, and that's what we want to be associated with. That's why we don't have an open enrollment affiliate program, because we don't want to just bring on anyone. We feel like that dilutes the quality of our product, and we don't want just anyone representing us. So I reached out to you personally as an executive to meet with you and build a relationship and build that rapport, because I align with you, right? So right now, my goal has been to align with other people, other professionals in this space, and get a really good grip of, professionals in the space that can be associated with us. And once we have that, it's been about a year of me kind of doing that, like maybe 9 to 10 months of me doing that directly. And now we're starting to get into the marketing space and creating content and stuff. So now we're going to start shifting and doing that so that we can then meet our affiliates and influencers.
Well, you guys are
at
going
their
to
level.
absolutely blow up once you have like a strong
We
presence.
want to be ready for that.
Yeah.
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 That's what we're gearing up for.
Well, you guys are going to absolutely kill it. And like you treat your affiliates really well. Like you made a bobblehead of my dead dog for me.
And
right?
that was between you and me.
That looks nothing like
That was
him,
a
right?
secret.
First of all,
Like you guys overthink shit so much. Like the
we
ideas,
didn't even give it to you.
the ideas
We
you're
knew.
throwing out.
We
Like
knew. We had the foresight.
they bought me a very nice lighter, see you at the top lighter, and cigar cutter. Some shirts and stuff that I wear.
Love those shirts. It looks
Love
great
the
on
shirts.
you.
I love that shirt.
Even
But
the
like
shirt, we put a lot of detail and thought into
you
that.
did,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
simple and nice. I love it. A great material.
We got so mad at our screen printer because it wasn't perfect.
It's
It
perfect.
does bleed through.
But like
all
even
the-
like all this thought and stuff that like you were telling me like, oh, you're a punk rocker, you like the Misfits, we were trying to get you a air freshener with the Misfits that smelled like the lead singer, and we made a bobblehead of your dead dog, but then we didn't really look like him, so we didn't want to send it to you. It's like all this.
$200.
You're just so like different than me. Like it's so funny, but you like all that thought, like I see it, like all the thought that goes into every single thing goes into your product, and that's why it's going to be the standard from now on of skip tracing in the industry, because nobody else is doing stuff like that. And how you do anything is how you do everything.
Absolutely.
And I can tell with you guys, like that's how you do everything.
I always say, this is what I say to people. I'm like, okay, make it make sense to me, right? If you go to someone's website, you can see the homepage and it's terrible. Their photography is terrible. Their social media is trash. They are just a terrible brand, but they're one of the biggest, right? This is what they are showing people. This is what they think. They looked at, somebody designed that, presented it to them. They paid a lot of money for that probably, got ripped off. And somebody said, what do you think? And they went, this is it. We're glowing live.
Green light,
This
I
is
approve.
great. I approve.
Yeah.
Thousands and millions of dollars and people, let's go. Let's do it. And that is what they want on the forefront of their brand. I don't even want to know what the back end looks like.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what their
lazy.
data looks like, their support, their finances. It is, it's
Yeah.
making me
Yeah,
anxious
they're a
right
mess.
now.
They're
I
an
don't even want to
absolute
know.
mess. Yeah.
So when I ask people, like, make it make sense to me, like, why would you trust a company like that? They go, I don't know.
I don't know.
That's actually a great point.
Yeah.
So then they start kind of looking at things differently. That's why when we present what we know is perfect in our eyes, because that is how we are from A to Z. Back end, our customers, not one person can say that they had a bad experience with us. They may not like their product or our product because of their performance, but it wasn't the product. It was their performance.
You're confident. You're confident.
And we
in it.
usually always point that out. If somebody is like, your data is crap, they'll come to us and then we'll be like, actually, you filtered it completely wrong and it wasn't even our fault. And they're like, oh, and then it ends up being a fine thing and they come back. But it's always a user error.
Of
right?
course, yeah. What are the plans for SkipMatrix? Can you talk about any plans you got coming up?
Oh,
I mean, I can't wait till your brand is pumping and you're speaking on
Yeah.
stages with me and at events. I mean, it's going to be
You're gonna have
awesome.
to give me some value.
You're
I
gonna,
don't know if
you're
I
gonna be
can do
fine.
public speaking.
Yeah. The key to public speaking is don't prepare. Just go up there and wing it. That's my
Know
advice.
who you're talking
Tony
to.
strategy.
Yeah,
Tony
that's
method.
it.
I mean, you're lucky
Well,
you're
you know
getting
what
us
helps
on
me,
this.
Cheyenne, is coming up there and saying something vulnerable right off the rip. Like making a joke or just putting yourself out there, getting people to kind of interact or laugh, and then it just kind of, you shed that stress and then just be yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But give me the plans coming up.
yeah. So, oh my God, we have so much
So a
going
little,
on.
little tight-lipped. I mean, we have actually a couple new software projects that are in the works
Yeah.
right now that are actually quite a bit different from SkipMatrix, still in real estate. I feel like there's a couple other underserved, parts of the market. So we have some really exciting things in the works there. With SkipMatrix, we're finally going to be releasing our self-serve portal, our app. We've been this white glove skip tracing, done for you service for years. The reason we did that is because most people don't understand how to navigate spreadsheets and format their data to get good results. So we were seeing that every day. Our customers would be sending us, it's supposed to have a first name in one column, a last name, but it was all in one column. It's just, and if you ran that through a software, you're not going to get a good hit rate. You're not going to get good results. And that's probably honestly what a lot of people are doing with these other software companies.
Of course. And they don't have those other companies don't have the wherewithal or the
one's nurturing.
the integrity to even
At the end of the day, we're not
teach
even a
their-
skip tracing company. We're a file formatting company.
Yeah.
Skip tracing the list for
mostly.
you. We're like 99% formatting your files for you.
Well, and that's the thing is, we saw the value. We were going to release the app much sooner. We actually have it all. It's been built for years, and we actually saw the value in us handling the files, us handling the data, making sure it's formatted and cleaned up before we run it, and then we're getting those high 90% hit rates, 100% hit rate. This is, and that's honestly something that could be fixed with these other companies that probably would also boost their hit rates. I don't know if it would be as high as ours, but that's definitely a factor.
And it's not always about hit rate. It's about accuracy.
It is.
Right.
It's
A
about
lot
all
of
that,
people
man.
can give you 100% of shit.
Yeah, that's true.
So
We talk
it's
about
not
hit
about
rate all the
that.
time, but it not only is the hit rate way better with SkipMatrix, but the accuracy is way better.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah,
It's
hit
the
rate is a
best
good
of every
indicator.
world.
It starts
good
with the hit rate.
indicator,
If you're not getting
but
hits, you're not getting anything.
What
Yeah.
is the prince like what is the actual foundation of the information in the file?
Yeah.
Is it good quality? That's where you have to actually test it and call it and see where it's going, right? But we've had to navigate that
Yeah.
a little bit because it's like people are just
Anyway,
so bad at
We
formatting their files.
figured out how to crack the code in a more automated way to help people with their formatting and fix that issue. We feel confident in that, and so now we're close. I will say we're close to releasing that app to the public.
Yeah.
After that, a couple other projects in the works, really
Yeah.
exciting things coming against some of the other big platforms in the industry. Not so much skip tracing focused, but yeah.
Well, you guys are gonna kill it. Yeah, you finally made data sexy for the first time. I was a little nervous about this podcast, wondering how we would talk about data and keep people intrigued, but
possible.
I think you guys did a fantastic job. So thank you so much. Thanks for coming out to visit. Why don't you tell the folks where they can find you?
So us personally,
Well, whatever you want to advertise.
well,
It's
obviously SkipMatrix, so it's just SkipMatrix on Instagram. He has an Instagram, but it's literally all our wedding photos right now.
She's social. She's doing all the
I'm
social.
born on the
just give your social media.
It's just Shea Coolborn, CheyCoolbour.
There you go. Grow the brand. Time to grow the brand. All right. Well, thanks for joining. You Are Not Normal with Mike and Cheyenne and TONYMONT. And we're going to get Mike some food in him so he doesn't
Yeah, we're about
pass
to
out.
keel over.
Well, he's already drunk off of one glass of wine. The guy hasn't ate in 3 days. All right. We'll see you guys at the top. Thanks. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching my video. If you'd like to watch more videos, my playlist is right here. And if you'd like to subscribe, click down here. I'll see you guys at the top.